Hey, it's Kim. Thanks for clicking on today's video where I'm gonna be talking about goals. If it's your first time here, again, I'm Kim, and I make videos about productivity and planners and life stuff here and there. If that's your kind of thing, stick around. I'd love to have you here. Subscribe if you feel so inclined. So like I said, today's video is going to be all about goals, and I have sort of a loose script, a loose life script, if you will, as it relates to goals. I do have a few older videos on my channel going over how I plan goals, how I strategize around accomplishing those goals, and really how that shows up inside of my planners and journals. Today's video is slightly different only because it's, I guess, taking it back to like the initial steps before we even get into how that shows up in a planner or a journal. So it's the goal planning, if you will, or like the goal setup. That's how I kind of see it. And it's a process where I think through all the goals that I want in my life, all the goals that I would like to measure, the goals that I'd like to work towards accomplishing. Because I feel like we all should have like 1,000,001 goals, you know? Like there could be a goal where you really want to be amazing in Stardew Valley or something like that. It's a goal, right? But maybe it's not something you would write down on your life goals. So you get where I'm going with that. And before we get into the action steps related to goals, I think it's important to mention that we don't want to get stuck in all of the planning of the goals without taking actual action towards accomplishing said goals. This video, however, is mostly focused on the planning of the goals, and I will have videos coming up all about the tracking and taking action on accomplishing those goals. And I feel like I've said goals way too many times in this video so far. Let's get into it. So the first thing I like to do is categorize all of the areas in my life where I want improvement. And those will be categories that are important to me right now. So that means those categories could shift and change over the years. They won't always stay consistent. For me specifically, I feel like my categories have stayed consistent for quite a few years, but of course that could change. So my goals are spiritual, relationships, health and fitness, I'm blanking. Oh, personal development, business, and finances. So those are the 6 life categories that I've kind of broken myself into that I want to focus on and that I want to be better in and that I want to grow and that I just want to pay attention to make sure I'm the best possible version of myself. So those will be my goal categories. For you, you might have fewer, you might have more. I would caution you not to have too many. I just feel like maybe it gets out of control, maybe it gets out of hand if you have like 10 life goal categories, but at the same time, maybe that's just right for you. So who am I to say? So for me, every time I sit down and try to develop a strategy for the goals that I'm going to embark upon in this phase of my life, I like to go back to those categories to make sure I'm focusing on those areas. I should also mention that even though the top of the year is normally the time when people focus on goals, I don't think it's the only time that we can focus on goals. You can rejudge and revamp your goals in March if you so choose. You can do it whenever the heck you want to, and that's exactly how I approach goal planning in my own life as well. So I go back to the categories that I know work, the categories that just make the most sense to my brain for my life. And when I'm in the process of going through the planning and setting up the plan for the action steps, like setting up the strategy, I do like to reflect on what happened previously. So again, if we are at the top of the year, like the beginning of 2025, maybe we're going to reflect over the entirety of 2024 and in each category assess what we did. And it has more to do with assessing our performance, like how we feel we did. Could we have done more? Was there room for improvement? Were we wasting our time focusing on a certain goal category or area when we really didn't need to? Those are the kinds of questions that it's important to take stock of as we embark upon setting up the new goals. So it's really like a rate your performance. So maybe for every goal category, on a scale of 1 to 5, on a scale of 1 to 10, you would rate how pleased you are with your performance in those areas. And that, of course, is very telling in how we can structure the next set of goals to be even better. So after we've gone back to the categories that worked and we assess previous performance, now it's time to actually plan the current goals. And based on the previous performance, is there some type of progress that we want to build upon now? Again, do we feel like we've wasted some time on other goals in the past, and maybe it's just time to either erase those goals completely or revise them completely to where they probably look like different goals altogether? Another thing to assess as we're planning for the new goals is, once we've looked at the past goals, are there any weaknesses that we've uncovered? Weaknesses in our ability to stick to the goals and our ability to stay disciplined enough to stick to the goals. I know that's a big one for me. Self-discipline is something I'm always working on. I think it's because I get distracted. But here I am right now getting distracted. Back to the point. So the next thing to do is actually write down the actual goals. And for me personally, I can give you a little bit of an example as it relates to all of the categories that I have going on in my life. And the way I'm approaching my goal planning right now, and the reason why I felt like it was an opportune time to film a video, is because I am actually on sort of like a goal restart or refresh, so to speak. And I did start this back in December, but I would like to say that it takes a while to kind of get into the flow of these new directives that you have for your life. If you decide on December 27th that you're gonna get it together and you're gonna follow these new goals, that's great. Don't expect for it to actually happen on December 28th, is what I'm saying. You gotta kind of ease into it so that the changes that you're making in life stick. So that they become something that is consistent and constant in your life, and it feels like it's not hard, like it's not a strain. So for me, that means either building new routines and habits, thereby creating systems in my life that make it easier to build those new routines and habits. So that's kind of where I'm going with my whole refresh and goal restart. And once we build those new systems that help us navigate those new routines and habits, we have to just stick to them. Just stick to them. Like I said, that is hard for a lot of us, myself included. Okay, so to tell you my goals, I said I have the spiritual category, and I'd like to continue to do my daily devotionals, continue in my Bible studies, but something that is a big goal for me for 2025, I would like to get more involved in the church community of the church that we are currently members of. We've just joined a new church, so I just want to kind of dive headfirst in building that community or becoming a part of that community. And that means I have to actively stop being such an introvert. It's not easy for all of us. That is one of those things that is at the top of my list of goals for 2025. Now we move on to my relationship goals. I just want to do more of what I've been doing. I feel like my progress has been great so far, if I do say so myself. So I'd like to do more of that, just more of time with the people that I love. I think for 2025, I would love to do more things with friends. So you know those meetups that you have with the girls, maybe some outings, maybe it's not just lunch, maybe we go do things. I would like to just do more of that. Every time we do it and every time we get together, we all feel amazing and it's so great and it's so wonderful. So I want to just build upon that and do a lot more of it. For my health and fitness, 2024 was good in terms of fitness, maybe not so much in terms of health. And that really boils down to a lot of my nutrition, so to speak. So I have things that I've dealt with over the years. I am a woman of a certain age. So there are things that I need to focus on in my life and in my health and fitness journey so that I can have many more years of life. This year for 2025, I really want to focus on nutrition because I do truly believe, that food heals. Food is your medicine, all those crunchy sayings that go along the same lines. I do believe in all of that. So I want to focus on those things for 2025. And this is a major part of my life or category of my life where consistency is really needed for me. So I can be on a real kick. I can do well for a month, but I need to do well for a year. I know you can relate, especially as it relates to health and fitness and eating well and doing better. We have to just stay consistent. So that's what I'm going to do and focus on for 2025. Focus on practicing consistency in my health and fitness journey. Of course, I have my health planner to help out with that. And the next category is personal development. So I've done a lot in the last year, and I feel like personal development on a self-care basis has kind of taken a back seat in 2024. I think I focused a lot more on business stuff, and that just really was draining, of course. I never got to the point where I felt like I was burnt out necessarily. But for personal development, or at least under that category for 2025, it's going to be a lot more about me, focusing on self-care, doing a lot more of those things that just make me happy because I want to do them and because I feel like they're making me a better person. So I've recently taken up knitting, or knitting back up. That's how I should say it. So I've recently taken knitting back up. It's something that I feel is soothing. I like to do it. I'm really into it. Like, I'm deep into it at the moment, and it makes me happy. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. As far as the personal development umbrella is concerned, another thing that I really want to do is actively pursue language learning. I did mention it briefly in a previous video, but for 2025, I'm going to be focusing on learning a different language. It's going to be fun. It's going to stimulate my brain, but I'm going to enjoy it in the process, thereby attributing to my personal development goal. And then I also did think of obtaining certifications, kind of like career certifications. I do feel like that is developing myself, but it's also for the purpose of work and business. And I just said that my personal development goal right now for 2025 is very much self-centered, very much self-focused for, my mental health, my mental well-being. So I don't know if I want to do that. That's a maybe. We'll see what happens. My next category is business. Things are going all right with business. I feel almost detached from business because maybe in 2024 I've been too focused on business, or at least maybe that's just for now. Maybe it won't last all year, of course. But I do think in the business category, I'm just going to keep on doing what I've been doing. I do have to, or want to, think about a pivot of some sort. Think about how I would approach some kind of business pivot should the time come. So I want to be prepared in that sense. So maybe that is what I have under my business goal umbrella. As you can see, I've not fully hashed all of that out, and I don't care to right now. That's also okay. And my last goal category would be finances. For finances, I feel like I want to focus a lot more on retirement savings, a lot more on savings in general. I mean, I have a kid who will be going to college soon. So, we have to prepare and plan for that. So savings in general, I would like to focus more of my energies and more of my resources on. So that would fall under my finance umbrella. Oh, I also want to get better at tracking things digitally. So I track a lot of things with our finances on paper, but I want to do that in spreadsheets and all that other stuff. That's a goal. Yeah, to kind of transfer, I'm talking through this now, to transfer all of that stuff to a more digital aspect. I do think I will still use a pen and paper to do a lot of it, but I do want to have both resources available and at my disposal. This sweater is hot. Whew. Also, I guess under finances and savings, we want to go on a couple of vacations as a family this year. Like I said, my daughter will be going away to college soon, and I think it would be really cool to do a college road trip experience over the summer. And that does roll into finances because we have to prep and plan for that from a financial perspective, of course. That's kind of like a side tangent, a side goal, if you will. So anyway, those are all of the 6 categories that I'm focusing my goals on for 2025. So just like I talked through all of it, I assess what happened in 2024, and I'm putting together what I want to do for 2025. That's what we all should do when considering a goal refresh or a goal restart. All right, so the 4 steps that we took, we went back to the categories. By we, I mean, all of us. We went back to the categories that work. Back to those life categories, those chunks of life that we want to break everything down into and set our goals under. So back to the categories that just work for us. We're not reaching too far. We're not making this too difficult. The next thing we did was to assess our previous performance. So before this goal refresh or restart, what were we doing before we got here? How did things go? What goals did we plan previously? Did we meet them? Yada, yada, yada. And then the next thing we do in assessing those goals is to plan what the next goals will likely look like. Plan like what are the outcomes that we want from these goals? What version of ourselves do we want to see once all of these goals are accomplished? And then finally, the fourth step is to actually create the goals. Actually write them down, get them down on a piece of paper or in some kind of an app, however you feel free. Write them down, because that is a large part of actually achieving the goals. They have to be concrete. They have to be captured in some kind of way in order for us to make strides to accomplishing them. This is all actually very psychological. It's a thing. Like, you have to write down your goals in order to meet them. Not only that, it's very important to check in with your goals frequently in order to meet them. So like I said, there's a second part to this video where I'm going to show you how I'll be tracking my goals over the course of the next several months, year, whatever, whenever I choose to do another restart or refresh. So not only do we plan the goals, we also have to track the goals. So when we plan them, that could mean for you like a vision board. Yeah, that's what it's called. That's what people do. So when we plan them, that could mean for you something like a vision board. That's how you see them. Maybe that's how you capture what your goals are going to be for the year or for the time period. So that's another way to capture the goals that we planned. And then we have to track the goals that we planned. We could track on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, quarterly basis, just some way that we are checking in with the goals frequently. We're kind of like touching them. We're kind of getting all up in the goals to make sure that we're still connected to them, to make sure that they are still guiding and directing our paths of life. And I think along with those 4 action steps that we talked about, there's a 5th one, and that would be to use tools to help you accomplish those goals. There's so many tools available. There's one that I got into a little deeper last year, which was the 12-week year. And I feel like that was very helpful for me from a business perspective. It helped with setting up business goals, planning out when things would happen and how. So that would be great. The 12-week year, people use it not just for business goals, of course. You can use it for personal goals, for anything, but it breaks it down over 12 weeks. So that's the 12-week year. Atomic Habits is another good resource. And these are all over YouTube. You could kind of Google to find out what this is all about. But Atomic Habits focuses on creating new systems in your life so that those new habits that we want to build are easier to attain. They're easier to be consistent with if we rearrange our lives around systems instead of the specific habits that we want to incorporate or even the habits that we want to end. And because we're planners, there are also planner resources and tools that you could use. I know I've heard of makselife, have not used it, so I can't comment on whether or not I like it. If you do know, you can definitely comment down below. There's also powersheets. That's another planner type goal resource that can help you plan out your goals for this next part of life. Again, I have not used it. If you have, let us know down below how you like it, if you could recommend it. Also, feel free to search around on YouTube for other people who have gone over, like I said, all of these things and explain how they work, if they work, why they work, and see if they might be a good fit for you. And then just your standard planner inserts that you just might go to Etsy and download some inserts to help you plan out your goals. I actually did this back in 2021, I think, and I had created a planner insert to help me plan out my goals. I'll try to have that video linked down below if you're interested. But I created inserts to help me plan out the goals that I was focusing on and help me to review those goals. I think it was monthly or so that I can focus on actually attaining the goals that I set for myself. All right, so those are all of the goal planning action steps that I feel like we all should take in some kind of way if we're really serious about setting new goals for ourselves, refreshing the goals that we've already tried to accomplish. I think these are the steps that could likely help. And I'm on this journey with you as well. So with that said, there will be follow-up videos. There's gonna be a video, like I said, about me tracking my goals and how I'm going to be checking in with them frequently. Videos all about how maybe at the start of each month, I set up new goal focuses underneath those 6 categories for the month. I could go on and on and on. So there will be follow-up videos, and if you're interested in seeing any of that, definitely subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. And I thank you so much for following along on today's video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below and I'll get right back to you. Again, thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.